Holy fucking shit, you guys. I just read Borrasca in its entirety, and the ending is absolutely the craziest, sickest shit I have ever read in my entire life. So anyway, guys, Borrasca Part 2 takes place about 7 years later than Borrasca Part 1, okay? I just finished Part 1. It took me 3 different videos to make because I can't upload videos longer than 15 minutes. Thanks, YouTube, because I got a copyright claim on one of my videos. So I'll link that video in the description below if you want to go watch it. If you haven't seen the earlier parts to Borrasca, please go watch them. They're very important for the story as a whole. But anyway, guys, I'm going to end on the story. Remember the fact that I love you guys. Like I said, this takes place 7 years later, so if you're confused, that's why. Underneath the triple tree, there is a man who waits for me, and should I go or should I stay, my fate is the same either way. Good morning. The words faded back into the ether, and I awoke with a start. Jimmy Prescott was lounging against the wall near the door, an amused yet disapproving look on his face. Shit, sorry Mr. Prescott, I didn't hear you come in. You know, I worked here when I was a kid too. I installed the bell on the door for this very reason. Didn't seem to wake you up though, he laughed. I mumbled another apology and idly straightened a stack of business cards in front of me. Late night? Kinda, very. I hope you weren't out in the bonfires with all the other underage drinkers. No, sir. Yep. Good. Anyway, I'm just here for my lunch. I'll take a Parmesan chicken with avocado on rye. Yes, sir. Happy that the conversation was over, I walked over to the sandwich counter and unwound the twisty tie from the rye bread. Jimmy Prescott stepped back from the counter and idly studied the pictures on the wall, though he'd seen them 1,000 times before. More of the photos were of the Prescott family, taken over the last century. I'd always thought it was odd decor, but then the shop was named after them, after all. Is Mira here? Prescott asked as I wrapped up his sandwich. She's in the back. Ah, I thought she'd still be in St. Louis. Well, when you're finished, would you mind go getting her for me? Shit. Yes, sir. I handed him his sandwich and went to the back to find Mira. She was in the office, furiously punching the keys on her accounting calculator. Mira? Jimmy Prescott is out front. He wants to talk to you. She turned and gave me a dubious look. Did he say what about? I shook my head. Okay, she sighed. You can go home for the day, Sam. But are you sure? I still had 3 hours on the clock. He's the only customer we've had since we opened. Don't worry. I'll pay you for a whole day, kiddo. Thanks, Mira. Good luck, I guess. I gave her a sympathetic shrug, and she patted my arm. I didn't know how she did it. Mira was perhaps the most burdened and stressed out woman in all of Drisking, but she never failed to be unbelievably kind. There was a hopelessness about her, a sadness that she hid very well. I left the store out the back door so I wouldn't have to see Jimmy Prescott again. His weird, yellowed amber eyes always set me on edge, not to mention he was a total tool. I hopped in my car and texted Kyle that I was off work. He answered immediately and told me to come meet him. I happily whipped my apron off my head and threw the car into reverse. Crystal Lake was my favorite place in all of Drisking. I had to park almost a mile away since the lake was so packed. I eventually found Kyle and Kimber sitting on a rock that jutted out from the beach. Kimber was sunbathing in a blue floral bikini, and Kyle was wearing his "no one can tell where my eyes are looking" sunglasses. What did I miss? I asked, sitting down next to Kimber. Not much, she answered, stretching and sitting up. Just more beer. She dug into the cooler behind her and tried to hand me a Blue Moon. Ugh, no, I waved it away. Got any Excedrin? No. Kimber gave me her "I'm sorry" pout. Okay, then I'll just take those sunglasses. I held my hand out to Kyle, who looked back at it in horror. What? No, fuck off. Oh, come on, Kyle. Give him your sunglasses. Sam didn't get to sleep off his hangover like we did. I smiled at Kyle, and he tightened his lips. We both knew exactly what I was doing. Kimber stroked Kyle's arm in encouragement. Please, she asked. Fine, he said, and shoved his blue blockers at me. I put them on and sat back, turning my head to watch the girls on the beach below. Phoebe Dranger, dark-haired girl, was there lying on a towel next to Roundface and giggling. It still seemed unnatural to me to see the two of them without Rude Nose. The three had been inseparable, working as fluidly together as the gears in a watch until Christy had fallen in love with some college kid and run away. So why'd you get out of work early anyway? Kyle asked. Prescott came in. Ew, Kimber squirmed. He totally freaks me out. He's been staring at me since like the 5th grade. Next time he stares at you like that, let me know and I'll knock him the fuck out. Kyle had always been protective over Kimber, but ever since they started dating, it had gotten 10 times more unbearable. Kimber winked at him. So what did he want, Sam? He wanted to talk to Mira, probably about the sandwich shop. You mean about how no one goes there and the business should have closed years ago, but it won't because the Prescotts are stubborn and vain? Kyle said. Yeah, probably. I mean, she looked pretty worried. I can count on one hand how many sandwiches I've sold in the past month. Ouch, Kimber grimaced. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's going to get chewed out. I really don't like that guy. I thought about the squirmy, yellow-eyed freak yelling at sweet little Mira, and it made my blood boil. You should have met his dad, Kyle snorted. He was a piece of work. His dad? Yeah, Tom Prescott, Kimber said. The family put him in a home a few towns over. Why is he in a home? I heard he got dementia and he was embarrassing the family in public, Kyle said. I heard that too. Kimber brushed her long curls off of her shoulders. I always liked Tom Prescott. It was a pretty shitty thing to do. Hey kids! We turned in unison to see Phil Saunders come stomping out of the bushes behind us, with Mike Sutton following behind. So this is where the cool people hang out, high above the kingdom on Pride Rock. Sup, Mike? Kyle said, ignoring Phil, whom he disliked ever since Phil had briefly dated Kimber. Phil was either unaware of or uninterested in Kyle's feelings. Of course, that may have been because Phil was stoned out of his mind most of the time, and now was no exception. They sat down next to us, and Mike offered me his pipe. Wanna hit this? I did want to hit it, and pretty badly too. I reached up to grab it, but Phil swatted my hand away. Careful, guy. You don't want to get the sheriff's son high. For fuck's sakes, Mike. Mike nodded knowingly and shoved the pipe back into his pocket. I scowled. Really? Sorry, Sammy. Hell, the only reason I'm even smoking around you is because it's my cousin's death anniversary, and I don't give a shit about anything else. Your cousin Hannah? Kimber asked with a sympathetic look. Yep, 5 years she's been gone. Too many people disappear in these woods, man, Kyle said as he exhaled a cloud of smoke. Yeah, man, Phil nodded. You know, sometimes when I'm high, I can see them all, and I feel like I know the answer to the mystery, man, like I'm so close to solving it. It's just something I can see, like they're all puzzle pieces in my mind, and I see the puzzle put together, but I can't tell what the picture is of, you know? You're fucking high, Saunders, Kyle said. We all are, man. We all are. Everyone in this town is drinking the fucking Kool-Aid. Kimber raised an eyebrow at him, but said nothing. Everyone except the dead ones. I can see what they looked like before they were in the ground. Or is it the grounder? Shit. I don't know, man, Mike said to the space in front of him. Yeah, I see all those people. Hannah, Paige, Jason Metley. Hell, I've even seen your sister, Walker. Kyle, who I knew had been monitoring the conversation for mention of this very thing, sprang to his feet and opened his mouth to yell at Phil. Nah, Whitney Walker ran away to St. Louis, remember? Mike said. I saw Kyle and Kimber exchange a quick look as I tried to remain impassive from behind the blue blockers. That true, man? Phil asked, and there it was. I knew Kyle and Kimber had always wondered what I thought about Whitney and if I'd ever accepted the official statement that she and Jay had run away together. They were kind enough not to bring it up, but I knew they wanted to know what I believed, what I thought had really happened. I loved them both, and I wanted to talk to them about it, but I just couldn't. Everyone thought that I had spent the last 7 years quietly grieving that I'd put the incident behind me. At least, that's what I tried to show them. The truth is that I'd never given up on Whitney. I'd waited years for Jay to show up on social media, and when I finally found him last year, I'd been devastated. I'd always hoped the official report was right and that Whitney was somewhere far away from here, alive and happy with Jay Bauer. But his MySpace page showed a thriving teenager still living at home with his parents. His ex-girlfriend Whitney was the furthest thing from his mind. When I'd brought the evidence to my dad, he'd read the pages I'd printed off and then shut the door to his office with me on the other side. I heard him crying in there for hours as I waited for him to reopen the case and bring the smackdown on the Butler County Sheriff's Department, but justice had never come and we never mentioned Jay Bauer again. For whatever reason, I never told Kyle and Kimber about any of that. Maybe it was because I was worried they'd blow it off like my dad had, or maybe, and far more likely, I didn't want them to know how obsessed I'd become with the Borrasca and the skinned men. I knew, as assuredly as the sun would rise tomorrow, that Whitney's death had happened there, just like all the others who'd gone to the Triple Tree. I was suddenly very aware of the 4 pairs of eyes staring at me. Yeah, it's true. She ran off with this guy, Jay, from our hometown, I answered. That was enough for Kyle. All right, guys, seriously, he's the sheriff's kid. What do you think's gonna happen if he gets caught with weed? The little man is right, Phil. Let's bounce. I don't need any more trouble with the cops around here, Mike said. Later, Walker, Kimber, little man. Phil stood up, brushed off his pants, and jumped from the boulder onto the sandy beach below. He sprayed sand all over a couple of freshman girls who squealed and called him an unthoughtful ass. Phil tipped his invisible hat to them and said, "Ladies," before walking off. Mike followed him down, and as I watched them make their way down to the beach, I became aware of the conversation going on behind me. "I didn't say I wanted to go, I said I had to go," Kimber said. "It's only 2 o'clock, and it's Sunday. I know, but my parents have been fighting a lot lately, and I don't want to leave my mom alone too long." "I thought she was doing better. A little, but she's still depressed, Kyle. Do you want to stay over at my place tonight?" Kimber's voice dropped into a whisper. I just don't think I'm ready for that yet." "What? No, wait, that's not what I meant. I'd sleep on the pullout in the basement, and you would have my room." Very awkward silence. "My parents love you, you know," he added. Kimber laughed. "I know. I just want to be there for my mom right now. But thank you, sweetie." And then the absolutely disgusting sound of my best friends kissing. I would never get used to it. Ugh. On that note, I'm out of here, too. I stood up and gave them both a shaming look. "Oh, come on, Sam. Don't be jealous. We'll find you a girlfriend someday," Kyle joked. "I really don't need your help with that," I muttered, glancing down at the beach where Emmeline Adler was sunbathing. "I'll see you guys tomorrow." "Last week of school," Kimber yelled at my retreating back. Thank God. Tomorrow was the last Monday of the school year, and while I should have been thankful my sophomore year was ending, I wasn't. The summer meant no distractions, more time to think, and even more hours of boredom at Prescott Artisan Sandwiches. But I wasn't looking forward to tomorrow for another reason. Besides it being Monday, it was also sophomore ditch day. My dad had caught on to that several weeks ago and warned me to set a good example and to go to school that day. Sometimes I really hated being the son of a cop. Kyle and Kimber were sympathetic and had offered to share in my misery. I had, of course, said yes to much of Kyle's sadness. As I'd expected, my dad was waiting for me when I got home. We shared a brief, strained conversation about our respective days, then he finally got to it. "Remember, Sammy, we're cracking down on truancy this year. I want to see you at school tomorrow." "Yeah, I got it, Dad. And I hope I won't have to write a ticket to Kyle either," I sighed. "It's just a tradition. Even the teachers sort of encourage it." On Friday, they said, "I don't care what they said, Sam. Besides the fact that I'm the sheriff, I'm also your father, and I want my son in school." I laughed and shook my head. What a joke. I can't control what Kyle does. Fair enough, but you can control what you do. I said nothing, and Dad sighed. "It's almost over, Sam. Just get through these last 5 days, and you can be done with school for a few months." "Fine." I walked out of the kitchen, rudely ending the conversation. I climbed the stairs and passed by Whitney's door on the way to my room. The light was on, and silence was behind it. I knew my mother was in there. She was always in there, doing God knows what. I walked to my own room, shut the door behind me, and locked it.